But of course, I don't go to G, I go somewhere else. I do a little bit of a fake out, somewhat of a deceptive cadence. I go to F minor over A flat. Hey everybody, Jeff Schneider here. In today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you some new music that I've made recently, showcasing instruments by a company called Arturia. They make a lot of great virtual instruments, analog synth recreations and emulations, and they do a lot of hardware as well. Anyway, at the beginning of this year, I mentioned that I did a score for a documentary called Autonomy, and my idea for the score was to kind of mix some older analog sounds with some modern electronic sounds. Arturia did me a solid. They hooked me up with a bunch of different instruments, virtual instruments, some really great sounds. I'm going to actually share with you a bit of a cue that I wrote for that documentary. But first, I want to share with you some new music that I've written. This is a short piece that I put together. It uses some of their new synths. This is, I'll just play it for you first, and then I'll do a little bit of a closer look at some of the instruments that I used, and I'll also break down the chord progression because I do a couple interesting things here harmonically. Anyway, take a listen. Let me take you inside my Logic session here. So the instrument that I used primarily for the chords was this Prophet emulation. This is part of their V7 collection, which is just a collection of a ton of analog synth emulations, including the Prophet. I used the Jupiter 8 as well. That's also part of that V7 collection. But here's what that Prophet sounds like on its own. And of course, you can open up the filter. So that's a great sound, a lot of character captured in this virtual instrument. As I said, I also have the Jupiter 8 in here when the melody comes in. Check this out. It's a simple sound, but it has this warmth to it that I just love. And I've tried some other emulations from other companies, and as I said, Arturia is just fantastic at what they do. They really capture the character of these synths. So Pigments is a newer synth that they came out with, and it's a powerhouse. Again, a ton of presets. I think I tweaked a preset to get this particular sound here. For my bass track, I used the Minimoog emulation, also from the V7 collection, and I have a couple of variations on it here. This first one's pretty subby, so you might need some headphones to hear the actual notes, or some decent speakers, but check this out. You can open up the cutoff as well. And further into the track, I doubled that bass part and added some higher frequencies, some distortion to help it cut through the mix. And this is what I have here. Another sound that I used later on in the track is also from Pigments. It's based on this preset called Computer Rhythm Toms. It's kind of like a pitched percussion sound. Check this out. I thought that part added some really nice accompaniment to everything else that was going on. This is what it sounds like with the rest of the mix. Now, if I went through all of the different Arturia instruments, we'd be here all day. So the last one I'm going to mention is their Mellotron emulation, which I used at the end of this piece, and man oh man is it cool. It does an amazing job of recreating those classic sounds from the Beatles records, and there is so much depth in this instrument. Check out the part at the end of my song. I do have a little bit of reverb at the beginning part of this section, but then I kind of I dry it up towards the end. So take a listen here. Anyway, I'm going to quickly do a breakdown for the chord progression in this song, but before I do that, just one more thank you to Arturia. Also, guys, here's a quick listen of part of a cue that I wrote for Autonomy, the documentary that I scored at the beginning of this year. I think it's going to be available to the public soon, so stay tuned for more news on that. But anyway, on this particular cue, I used the SEM synth by Arturia at least 4 or 5 times on 5 different tracks. So here is a quick section of that cue. All right, so let's take a look at the chord progression that I used. So we're in the key of C major, and we're going to jump around a little bit, but I'm only going to be using 3-note voicings throughout, so check this out. So here's a C major chord in an open voicing. That would be a closed voicing, but that E in the middle there, I'm going to move it up an octave, so now we have an open voicing. Same 3 notes, but it's a little bit more sophisticated sounding, I think. So C major open voicing. Then we're on a G over B. So the middle note stays the same and the outer voices move down. Now, what I'm doing here is using voice leading to connect one voicing to the next smoothly. And that is going to be extremely helpful as we start to go outside of the key center. C major, G over B. Now, this is basically implying a C over B flat. You hear this a lot, resolving from, well, a 1/7 chord to a 4 chord. So that's actually where we're going to go. So this is, I could always put the C in here, and you hear how that fits nicely, but to keep this a 3-note voicing, I'm going to actually take out the C and then resolve down to F over A. So that C7 is a non-diatonic chord. It doesn't fit in the key signature, but C7 resolves very nicely down to F major. Now it's going to go back to C major, so we're going from the 4 chord back to the 1. It starts the same, but here we're going to go to E flat major over B flat. Now that's definitely a non-diatonic chord. It's the flat 3 major chord, and this is a borrowed chord. It's borrowed from the parallel minor scale, so that would be a C minor scale, E flat major over B flat. And now we're here. This kind of looks like an A minor 7, and it functions like that too, especially as I resolve from the G down to the F sharp. That's almost like going from A minor 7 to a D7. Check this out. If I play that D at the very bottom of the chord, you can hear how it fits. It sounds like a 2-5. A minor 7 going to D7. The D7, of course, is a secondary dominant, the 5 of 5. But when I just play it like this, this also kind of looks like an F sharp diminished chord. Again, in an open voicing, if I take the A and I put it up the octave, I have F sharp diminished. So F sharp diminished and D7, very similar chords, but what I'm doing here is setting up a G. But of course, I don't go to G, I go somewhere else. I do a little bit of a fake out, somewhat of a deceptive cadence. I go to F minor over A flat. So here's the A minor 7 to what we could call the D7 or an F sharp diminished over A. And then I'm on that F minor over A flat, which finally resolves to our G7 chord. That's our 5 chord. So the whole second half sounds like this. And then resolves back to C major. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you haven't subscribed already, please do so. And if you're a new subscriber, make sure to hit that bell to be notified when new videos go up. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.